Welcome everyone to our very first episode of Conversations in the Void. I am Graveyard, joined silently, and you can't see him, by my off-screen producer Salem, who's here to make sure I stay in line. Like I said, welcome everyone for this our very first episode. I'm very excited for this new show that we start off from the Mostly Pod Out at Night Mostly podcast. So, without further ado, I am so excited to bring on our guest for tonight, the one and only Miss Terry Bolo. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm really good.
So I know we had a little short discussion beforehand, but I'm so excited that you're here for our very first guest for our new show.
That's exciting.
Yes, thank you. And we have some great in the chat at Distance Learning, who I know from our other shows that I happen to do. But without further ado, let's talk horror with Terry Bolo, shall we? All right. So, Terry, would you call yourself a horror fan first and foremost?
I hate to say it, but I'm really not. I never really was a horror fan. I think real life is scary enough. So, I guess when I was younger, I liked all that stuff. I mean, we watched The Twilight Zone and Outer Limits and all that stuff, on TV when we were kids. But later, as I got older, and I got more into film, watching movies, I was more interested in, the big directors and, the more, mainstream studio type films. I was very much into the Academy Awards and followed everything that got nominated and all that. So, but I just happened to get cast in Carrie, so I ended up in a horror film.
That's awesome. So what is it about horror that kind of steers you? Is it something that steers you away from it, or is you said you more like the Academy Award winning type movies?
Well, like I said, I don't really like to be scared. When I was a kid, I did, because I think all kids do. But as I got older, I was more interested in good writing and directing. Not that horror films don't have that, because a lot of them do. But I know a lot of people who are very, very much into horror films, so they're kind of surprised when they find out that I'm not really. What? Well, you were in Carrie.
That has. I mean, obviously, that has to come up. Obviously, as an actor, you do all sorts of films, not just horror. As Let's Create says, he didn't know that you're in Airplane, in Animal House, in Ghostbusters.
Oh, it's like I just got into so many cool films. I was in the Blues Brothers, Mommy Dearest. A lot of really interesting, good films. That became my cult favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, and Let's Create. He wants to know what character you were in Airplane.
Oh, I was one of the passengers on the plane. Yeah, I was sitting behind Sonny Bono at one point. he was the one that had the bomb.
Yes. that is awesome. I love all the movies that you're in. I've deeply loved every single one.
Thanks. I know, they're such great ones. I know.
Oh, what character were you in Ghostbusters? Let's Create.
Ghostbusters. Oh, actually, I was just kind of on the sidewalk outside of the hotel. Like when the car was going by, and so a lot of the stuff I was in, I'm not real featured. A lot of background stuff, but it's just always fun to work on all those movies. Another movie I was in that a lot of people, I thought it would become a cult film, but have you heard of Streets of Fire?
I vaguely have heard of it.
Diane Lane and Michael Paré and oh my God, Robert Townsend was in that, and E.G. Daly, who was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and Lee Ving was in it, and it had just this incredible cast. Oh, Bill Paxton, Bill Paxton, Bill Paxton, who I later found out was Jack Fisk, the art director on Carrie. He was Jack Fisk's assistant before he got into acting. And he's in that book I told you about. And he said he made all the silver stars at the prom. It's like stuff like that in the book. I just love reading that. We lost him recently.
Yeah, so I mean, talking about all the cult classics, really that you have been in, like I said, Pee Wee's Big Adventure, as Streets of Fire, stuff like
We
that.
just lost him too. Yeah.
What's been your favorite set to have been on of all the movies you've been on?
Oh, that's really a tough one. Um, I think Pee Wee's Big Adventure was really fun in the biker bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever have any contact with Paul Rubens after the movie? And, obviously he passed away very recently.
Yeah. I would see him from time to time, especially if there was any kind of Groundling event, a Groundling alumni event or whatever. But and then he cast me in a small role in Pee Wee's Big Holiday with
Okay.
Joe Manganiello,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a great movie too. But speaking of Groundling, you helped start Groundling from my understanding, right?
Yeah, I did. And we're getting ready to celebrate 50 years. And it's just, can't believe all this time's gone by already, because I remember those days so well.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all kind of new to acting. Everybody was pretty young. There were a few, we were in our 20s and 30s. And we just felt like we were on the verge of something, exciting. And we created material through improvisation. Now they all write their material, but we actually created scenes while we were improvising. And then we would record them on an audio cassette and listen to them, re-improvise them, and then tweak it and rewrite. And then that's how we created our material. So we started out just Gary Austin was teaching at the Comedy Store. Then he rented a little theater space. Then we moved to a warehouse, and then we finally found the theater on Oxford Street, and we were downstairs in a smaller theater. And Ralph Waite had the theater upstairs. It was called the Met. And it's called the Met now. Then it was only 30 seats, and that's when we opened our first show. And we had 50 people in the company and 30 seats in the theater. Sometimes there'd be more people on stage than were in the audience. But then we found the place on Melrose and built the theater in there.
That's awesome. So how did you just happen to just kind of get into it from the class you were taking? You said?
Yeah, we had a family friend. We had a family friend, a comedian, Denny Johnston, and he's still around and working. And he was at the Comedy Store. He saw Gary Austin that was having a workshop, and he told my aunt about it, because my aunt was always funny, growing up. She was always kept everybody laughing. And he told her, "Oh, you should join this class." So she went and saw a class, and then she took me. And it was like the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. And I said, I have to do this. And so we started the workshop. And then he said he wanted to form a company and put on shows.
That's awesome.
And then we voted on the name after about a year.
About a year. Mm-hmm. Are you still involved with the Groundlings at all?
No, not really. I'm in the alumni group, and they always invite us to the openings of their new shows and whatever. They've been through a lot of management and artistic directors and all that. So, but they always like to keep in touch with the alumni. So we get notices from them and stuff. And all the current members are always happy to see us and, thank us profusely. Oh my God, I'm so glad you started this.
Yeah. I mean, so you said the 50 year is it this year or next?
The 50th, 2024 will be 50 years.
Are you going to go back at all and do a show by chance?
Well, they're planning a lot of things. We're going to probably put together some kind of a oral history, like the original people talking about the beginnings. And there's going to be a lot of special shows. And I don't think I want to perform. I don't know if they'd ask me, but I'm not really interested in performing. But they were talking about having like a panel discussion. So if I would do that. And of course there's going to be parties.
That is amazing that you're part of that group, that you helped start it, and from the chat, what other Groundlings have you kept in contact with?
Actually there's quite a few. Lynn Marie Stewart, Edie McClurg, Vicki Carroll, let's see, who else? Uh, John Moody. Well, and Paul, I would see once in a while. And, from time to time, we'll get together, run into each other. Doug Cox, who was in Carrie with me. So Doug Cox and Edie McClurg and another groundling, Cynthia Larson, we were all in Carrie together because we were cast out of the Groundlings. And I see Doug Cox from time to time. And we had a wonderful 40th reunion for Carrie. And that was a big event and a fundraiser. Nancy Allen was using it as a fundraiser for her cancer charity.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people showed up for that. And Piper Laurie was there. And Billy Cat couldn't come, but he sent a video. And so they played that. And it was a big turnout. And they had a costume contest. And it was just hilarious. And I felt like Cinderella at the ball. It was really a wonderful evening. So, yeah, a lot of groundlings, we started working. And that's one thing that working on Carrie with groundlings and then working on Paul's movie, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, it's like we're looking at each other going, can you believe this? We're really working together in show business.
Yeah, I mean, is that how you got into the film business? Was through Groundlings, and was Carrie your first movie because of the Groundlings? Then,
actually, I did one small part in a movie called Aloha, Bobby and Rose, and that was an interesting movie back in the 70s, and kind of a ill-fated love story. Two young kids running around Hollywood. Anyway, I had done a small part in that, and I had done some other little plays here and there, but the Groundlings really. Oh, and I was studying at the Strasberg Institute for a couple of years too. Okay. So, like I said, I was more interested in more serious type films, and I always thought I would be a more of a dramatic actress. And then when I got into the Groundlings, I found out I was funny, and so I was mostly focusing on comedy.
Yeah, so I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Carrie, right? We are a horror show. So what was it like working on Carrie?
Well, it was so much fun, and everybody was kind of young and new, and a lot of people, it was their first big thing that they've worked on, and it was Stephen King's first novel. So there's a lot of firsts, and a lot of people, it's like it's what got them started, got their career started, and it was always very exciting. And because, we were like really, in the big time now, working on a real movie set. And Brian was really great with everybody. He could be a little standoffish, but he let us all come to the dailies. And I'd never done that since, going to see dailies. And, we'd work like 12, 14 hours a day and then go watch a couple hours of dailies, and go home, go to bed, get up, drive to the set, do it the next day. Yeah, we had a blast on that. And so there were several locations. We did the schoolyard for the gym scenes. We did the shower scenes, of course, and the prom. So there were several different locations. And then I also worked in one of the classroom scenes where Billy Cat, as Tommy reads the poem he wrote.
Okay. Did you, when you were making Carrie, did you think it'd be such a cult classic today when you were making it?
No, that's the thing with, being in the Groundlings and then working on Carrie, two things that really had legs, it's like people are the Groundlings are famous now. People are still talking about Carrie. Oh, my first movie, my favorite movie, whatever. No, you didn't realize it at the time at all. And, in the Groundlings, we knew we were doing something special, but I had no idea it was going to go on to be like this launching pad for so many people like it did. And then on Carrie, it was like, I thought it was just a fun little movie. And a lot of the crew guys thought it was really, they thought it was a terrible, oh God, this direct we're working on, really think that? And I was really excited to work with Brian De Palma because I had seen his earlier films, Greetings and Hi Mom. And, I really thought he was a really interesting filmmaker. And I loved Sisters and Phantom of the Paradise. So I was a big De Palma fan. So I was really excited to be in Carrie.
Now, with the explosion of, conventions and Comic-Cons, like that, do you go to Comic-Cons and
no,
anything like that?
And I would. I mean, I have friends of mine do them. Yeah, I would, but I was never really kind of into self-promotion as much as
Mm-hmm.
other people. I mean, but yeah, I think they're all really great because it's the fans love them. The actors get to meet their fans and feel the love and make a little money, selling the autograph pictures and whatever. And so no, I haven't been to one or been in one, but I'm open to both. Because some friends of mine have been in them. Edie did one a few years back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love cons. The idea of, I haven't been to many, but as a podcast, we've sponsored a couple of things. We were able to sponsor some movies, movie marathon. We got to meet John Dugan, the original grandpa from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh God!
last
Okay,
year.
now there's a movie that I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually did like that one.
I doing some research about you, stuff like that. Do you get recognized a lot? Because I see a lot of, like, on Instagram, I saw a lot of people like, oh, here's me with Terry Bolo. Do you have that instances?
No, really?
Yeah.
A few times I have, and I was working a couple years ago for a little tour company, Dearly Departed Tours.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Michaels runs it. He did the Helter Skelter tour. He was consultant to Quentin Tarantino on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, all about the Manson family, because he's an expert on Manson and the Manson family. And some people that came in there recognized me, because people that would take that kind of tour would like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And weren't you in Carrie?
That's awesome. And as Distance Learning is saying, it's not about self-promotion. We as fans want to thank you for your work, and you're awesome to thank you in person. So
I know it's great. And this has been well, the internet has really helped, connect people too, as well. The fan conventions and then the internet too. And I've even gotten some fan mail,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's so sweet. It's really cute. It's like, it's just amazing to think that things that I did so many years ago, people are still getting enjoyment out of. And, it's very heartwarming.
Oh yeah, I mean, when
Yeah.
Paul Rubens died, one of my good buddies and I, we had to watch Pee-wee's movies just because of it, and obviously you were in it too. And I didn't realize a couple months later I'd be talking to you here on this show. It's awesome. But you said you worked as a tour guide, right? So you talk about like the Helter Skelter and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your favorite place that you showed anyone? Or what's your favorite spot on the tour?
Oh, okay. Well, I was more like the concierge, and I ran the shop, and
Mm-hmm.
I checked people in for the tours. I didn't give tours for Dearly Departed. I worked in the physical office, and we had a little shop in a museum. And but I was a tour guide, and I did give tours of Hollywood. And I used to love to take people to Alvera Street, like the beginnings of Los Angeles, and then also to take them to see a view of the Hollywood sign. Everybody wants to go see the Hollywood sign,
Right.
and it's really hard to get to. You can't get very close, but and I was always very interested in old Hollywood, the history, and so any place that still exists, and we're losing them. I love to show people, the older places,
Mm-hmm.
most of all. Yeah.
That's awesome. I would, if I was over there, I would so do that tour in a heartbeat. Just being the horror fan I am. But yeah, I know we have a couple questions here. Someone wants to know, since you did improv, did you do stand up as well ever?
No, I never did stand up, but I knew a lot of stand up people.
Okay.
To me, that was like just the scariest. Just the scariest. Oh, I wanted to throw in there. Dearly Departed also used to do around Halloween time. They used to do a horror film location tour, and they go by the Halloween house and
Mm-hmm.
Friday the 13th and all that. Yeah, so we did that yearly too, and those always did real well.
Did you ever see? I'm sure people dress up in costumes for those, especially on Halloween, right?
For the tours, well, our tour guides sometimes would, and every once in a while, a attendee would come in costume.
I mean, I think that's great. You know, like I said, I'd love to see you go to cons and have people interact with you, because you're, for just the short time we've been talking, you are just a lovely person. I said I cannot
Oh,
thank you enough for being here.
oh, thank
Um,
you.
yes. But let's talk about Strictly Background, right? The
Oh, yeah.
documentary.
I happen to have this right here.
Yes. And is that all the Cinchers, everyone in the cast that was there, all 10 of you?
We've lost one or two people, I think, from the cast. But he just had interviews and he just talked to people and he found, some really like interesting character and followed them. And in my little segment, we actually went to the cemetery, the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, because they show films in the summertime on the mausoleum wall. And a friend of mine called me and said they were showing Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So I called the director of Strictly Background and I told him, and he goes, "Let's go shoot that. Let's go there, and we'll shoot you watching Pee-wee's Big Adventure at the cemetery." So that's
Wow.
in Strictly Background. Yeah.
So how did you get into in Strictly Background? Did the director or producer contact you?
A friend of mine called me and said, I think he was looking in the casting lists and like the backstage, casting magazine. And he said, this guy's doing this documentary about people who do extra work. And he goes, I want people who are, experienced, not someone who's just, was on a set a few times. So I was on my way to work. I was working at the visitor center in Hollywood at the time. And I thought, I can go by this interview before I go to work. So I gathered up a bunch of photos of me on different sets, like, a whole bunch of them. And so when I walked in there and, and I spread out all the pictures of me and, all these different movies. And he goes, "Okay, she's in it for sure."
That's awesome. So I want to know what your thought, is, the premise is the background actors are the hardest working actors in Hollywood. And I'm sure you've heard that, some studios, especially with SAG-AFTRA strike that's happened, that studios like, "Oh, we'll pay you $200 once and we own your likeness just to plant you into the background of any movie."
That's really upsetting. I mean, they're always trying to save money, of course. And a lot of people have worked on things where they're using cardboard standees, when there's a really big scenes. And of course, then CGI happened. And I think Titanic was one of the first movies that had like CGI people in it. But I don't think that's right, to use your image. I mean, the whole reason people get residuals is because of the reuse. They're using your image over and over and over again. And so that's like a royalty, like
Right.
a song you wrote gets played, so something you're in gets shown, so you get a royalty, a residual from that. So no, if they're going to keep using your image over and over again, you need to be paid more than once. And I think it's very disrespectful. And, we're human beings and we need to work and earn a living. And so, yeah, it's just wrong. Wrong.
Oh, I completely agree. It's, especially in horror films, I prefer practical effects over CG myself. And and having people actually be there, I think would fill in the scene a lot better. So you have the ambiance of a film.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I just saw something on, I forget what it was, some news show. They were showing, how AI works and how all they need is a little film of you and a little bit of your voice, and they can make you say anything. And they showed some of it, and it's kind of scary.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One of our people in our chat here, he does game streams, and we just convinced him to do AI chat so we can make him say whatever we want live on stream, just as a gag. But Let's Trade's asking, what is Strictly Background? Strictly Background is a documentary that talks about the overlooked and underappreciated background actors in Hollywood, and Terry was part of it. Yeah, it's like I said, I want to see it. I haven't watched it yet. I'm definitely going to, just to be able to understand the importance.
I was always a big scene stealer. I could always, make more out of what I was doing than just, being a body. And it's like, for instance, in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Cassandra Peterson, who's Elvira, she plays the queen of the bikers.
Yes.
And then there's me. Well, there were more girls there that day, but they were too busy like flirting with the bikers and drinking beer. And I was busy getting my face on camera.
There you go. That's what you got to do, right? Awesome. So we are coming up the time flew by for me. I don't know about you. But we have to let's ask some hard-hitting questions. You ready for these? What are you superstitious about? Anything?
Superstitious?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't think I'm really superstitious, but I do believe that there is evil in the world. So I think that's why I don't really care for horror films, because they really do scare me, psychologically. Like a lot of people were really freaked out by The Exorcist because that was a psychological, kind of freak out. So I'm just afraid of like just something evil. I don't know. Monster.
Understandable. And Distance Nerd says we need to have you on the bill, and I completely agree. If you're open, we have another show that we can schedule on if you're up for it.
When?
I can talk to Distance Nerdy, and we can get in contact with Kevin if that's all right with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So you said you're talking about evil movies, you talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Is Texas Chainsaw your favorite scary movie?
You know what? I like I said, I don't see very many, but I was still pretty young when I saw that, and I did like it. Well, because it made me laugh. I mean, old Leatherface. I don't know. Sometimes there's things in scary movies that are funny.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta have a little bit of humor in there. All right. So, I know you said you're retired. If you can work in any film franchise, if you're able to pick any film franchise, what would you want to be in?
Something that's on now, or was on before,
Yeah. Any
well, I love period films, and I love westerns. So anything like that. It was like I'm really into Yellowstone right now. So, have you seen that?
I have. I'm so far behind on so many things.
Oh God, me too. There's so much out there. It's really hard to keep up. It's really hard to keep up with them all. Yeah.
All right.
But and also I love anything gangster movies. Yeah. But I love The Godfathers.
Ooh, yeah, those are great. All right, here's another hard one for you. Any advice for anyone getting into the field of acting or improv?
You really need to know your stuff. It's not all autographs and sunglasses. You really have to have the chops. And so study, and perform wherever you can, get in plays. And if you do come out to LA, you can act anywhere. People have been telling stories since man have been on the planet. So, not everybody's it's not just, oh, you're a big movie star or you're a failure. There's a lot in between. There's a lot of community theater. But if you really want to come to LA, I would recommend doing background work, because you really learn a lot being on a set. And also there's a lot of jobs on a set. It's not all just acting. There's hundreds of people working on a set. So there's a lot of good paying jobs. So if you find that acting's not really your thing, and sometimes people think they want to be an actor and then they realize, oh, I don't know if I really want to do this. There's so many other jobs. So, get on a set, look around, talk to people, and just learn about the business. And again, if acting is your thing, and it really has to be, you have to be really driven, and just really, really study. Get good.
Yes, absolutely. I've heard a lot of people say it's just like any other, it's an art form. So the more you practice, the better you get. It's just like you're not going to play piano and then not do it for 10 years or not practice every day. It's just a skill that muscle memory and everything like that.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we have one last question, which is going to be random from a horror trivia. And you don't have to get it right, but for anyone watching and anyone in the comments, let me know what you think the answer is. And I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't get it, that's perfectly okay. But you ready for it? All right. So, what was his first installment of his classic zombie movie franchise?
Night of the Living Dead?
Yes. Awesome.
Okay, those I like too.
There you go. Well, Terry, thank you very much for being here. And where can people find you on social media? Do you have any?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. Yeah.
All right. So link into her Facebook and to her Terry's IMDb is in the description below. So make sure to check that out. I also know I saw there was a fans of Terry Bolo Facebook group. Are you part of that?
You know what? Facebook deleted it.
Did
they took it off? Yeah, I don't know why. I did have it was called I Love Terry Bolo. A friend of mine put it up for me. And I don't know. I was supposed to do something and I didn't do it because I thought it was, bogus. And they took it away. So I don't know. Oh, yeah. I wanted to talk about this.
Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Yes.
It's oral history. Everybody in the movie talked about working on the movie. It's really wonderful. It's a good read. It's like being on Mars.
It's like being on Mars. Yes. I think they can get that only. Is it only on Amazon? Do you know by chance, or can get to?
I'm pretty sure Amazon has it. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'm interested in that book. I would love to learn all about that history of behind the scenes stuff. I love everything about that. So
if you're a real fan of Carrie, you'll really enjoy reading it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Terry.
Oh, you're so welcome, Graveyard.
Yeah, thank you. So, once again, everyone, thank you for joining us here. I am Graveyard from the Mostly Pod at Night Mostly. So make sure to follow us on YouTube and all social media at Pod Out Night, and make sure don't caught in the void. And we'll see you next week. Everyone, have a good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.